Hi kids, welcome back to the Game Garage. We're going to do some more reading today, looking at our series books. So make sure that you've got your series books in front of you. You're going to need them. Make sure you have your reading log ready. You'll be using that too. That should be a daily thing, 7 days a week. There's a reminder. So make sure you've got your series books out in front of you. We're going to be looking today. There's a reminder, we're looking at our series books. Really quickly, here's a quick reminder of all the things that we've looked at so far, okay, in our series books. So we started collecting information about the characters. You can see a little picture of Frog and Toad. We know lots about Frog and Toad now. Okay, this is, we looked at problems and how characters respond to problems and what that can tell us, not just about them, but about people in life and about yourself. We've also start to look at things which are the same across series, and we started to notice things that are different. And probably the most important thing we've looked at so far, why characters do what they do. Why do they say things? Why do they do things? Okay, so, and then that links to our writing when we're talking about motivation. Okay, about motivation. So, here's what we're going to work on today. Use what we know to guess what the character will do next. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some predicting today. Okay? We're going to look at some predicting, which means really thinking about what might happen next and why it might happen. All right, I'm going to bring up... I'm just going to change it to my dot cam right now, because we're going to be looking at Days with Frog and Toad. Just imagine you've got those characters right there, and we know quite a lot about Frog and Toad now. So just imagine for a moment that Frog and Toad, obviously they're living in their woods. Okay, just picture it. Maybe close your eyes and have a think. Think about the woods and the homes they live in. Now, say that something unusual is going to happen in their lives, and all of a sudden, a hot air balloon appears. Okay, something like that. Okay, something like that. Okay, maybe it's got a little burner here with a little flame, and there's Frog. There's Toad. Maybe. Now, it's the kind of balloon that has obviously a basket attached to it. You can see it there. My wonderful drawing looks a little like a light bulb, doesn't it? I realise that. Now, say that Frog and Toad and all the other animals of the forest have been invited to go on a ride in this balloon. Just think about that. But here's the deal. They have to get up at that crack of dawn, right before it's light, so super early in the morning, and when it's still chilly outside. So imagine that it's late fall and all the leaves have fallen off the trees. But if they go, they'll have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to fly over the trees and water and land below and to see a beautiful sunrise. How do you think Frog's going to react to that? What about Toad? Will they take that balloon ride? Okay, imagine you've got a partner right there next to you. Turn and tell your partner what you think Frog and Toad are going to do. Now, many of you, I'm sure, are guessing that Frog's going to jump at the opportunity. He's going to be like, yeah, let's go on this balloon ride. Okay, we have to get a balloon. Who cares? We're going to see it. And he's going to try and convince Toad how fun it would be to take that balloon ride together. Now, how many of you thought that Toad might hesitate to do that? Okay, being that he'd have to get up early and possibly it's dangerous and he could just stay under his warm covers and sleep. That's something that we know a lot about Toad already. Okay, so that's probably what I would imagine that would happen. Now, we know a lot about Frog and Toad already. We can almost guess what they might do, even in a story that isn't written. And that's because you know the predictable ways in which each of these friends thinks and acts. You know, we've talked about that before, where you start to be able to predict what a really close friend might do. Okay, and this is really similar with Frog and Toad. So we know that Frog's more optimistic and daring, and Toad, well, he's a creature of habit, he's less daring, and he likes his home comforts. So, teaching point today. I want to teach you that when readers know a character really well, the way that you know your best friend, or someone in your family, you can guess what the character's going to do next. That's called predicting, or to predict. Let me write that down. It's this. To predict. Okay, or to make a prediction. Okay, there's that T-I-O-N. Prediction. There's that sound. So we're going to look at this today. Okay, I'll just go back here so you understand what we're looking at. So we're making a prediction, and that's really come on, computer. Wonderful. That's using what you know to guess what the character will do next. So using what you know to guess what the character will do next. Okay, and we're actually going to have a go at doing this today. Okay, and we're going to use Frog and Toad. Why are we using Frog and Toad? You already know a lot about Frog and Toad, and that's why. So, I'm going to move my sheet out of the way. And we are going to turn to Frog and Toad, the Hat. Page 42. Let me find it. Put a post in and it fell out. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm only going to read the very first page of Frog and Toad, so I'm going to put this here. And it's called The Hat. I'm going to freeze this now so I don't have to... There we go. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to read it with me. Okay, over on page 42 on the left-hand side, The Hat. On Toad's birthday, Frog gave him a hat. Toad was delighted. Happy birthday, said Frog. Toad put on the hat. It fell down over his eyes. I'm sorry, said Frog. That hat is much too big for you. I'll give you something else. Now, I'd like you just to close your eyes and take a guess at what you think's going to happen next. Now, I'm going to go through what I'm thinking. I said, I know that Toad's a bit lazy. He acts a bit like a 2-year-old sometimes. But he really likes his friend Frog. Now, I think that Toad might just wear the hat anyway. Even though it's too big for him. Because he really likes his friend. I wonder if you think anything different. And obviously, here's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of some other things, some other predictions, and why it might happen. Now, maybe you think Toad might not wear the hat. Because we know that Toad likes to give up easily. So maybe he's like, oh no, I couldn't possibly wear that hat. Because I just can't, it's just too big. Two different thoughts. But obviously both have got good reasons. And we could actually believe them both. So, let's read on. Let me unfreeze it for a moment. Let's see. No, said Toad. This hat is your present to me. I like it, and I will wear it the way it is. Now, you can see on there, obviously, the hat's covering his eyes. Ridiculous, really. Ridiculous and silly. He's going to wear it, but this is something that we predicted because we already know about the character. Now, let's continue on and see if we can guess what Frog will do. Frog and Toad, so I'd like you reading with me. Frog and Toad went for a walk. Toad tripped over a rock. He bumped into a tree. He fell in a hole. Frog, said Toad, I can't see anything. And this is a great time to practice your voice. Your Toad voice. I will not be able to wear your beautiful present. Oh, this is a sad birthday for me. Frog and Toad, top of page 45. Frog and Toad were sad for a while. Then Frog said, Toad, here is what you must do. Tonight when you go to bed, you must think some very big thoughts. Those big thoughts will make your head grow larger. In the morning, your new hat may fit. What a wonderful idea. What a great idea, said Toad. That night, when Toad went to bed, he thought the biggest thoughts that he could think. Toad thought about giant sunflowers. He thought about tall oak trees. He thought about high mountains covered with snow. And you can see the picture there of Toad dreaming. Now, so now we know a lot about Frog, don't we? So let's see if we can have a think about what Frog will do. Now, I know this, that Frog's helpful. I know that he's patient, and he knows the right answer a lot of the time. He isn't as silly as Toad. So, using what you know about Frog, what's Frog likely to do? Take a guess and whisper it out loud. Pretend you've got a partner. Now, obviously, when you're predicting what might happen next in a story, we don't actually know for sure what will happen. So, what we're thinking is this. Maybe the story will go like this, or maybe it will go like this. Now, I'm sure, hopefully, what you're doing is thinking not just one possibility, but two possibilities. Not just one prediction, but two predictions, or maybe even more. Now, every time we think of a prediction, we have to be saying to ourselves, this might happen because. This might happen because. So maybe some of you are predicting that Frog might buy Toad a new present. And the reasons for that prediction is that you point out that Toad is nice. Maybe some of you are thinking that Frog might buy Toad not just any old present, but a new hat. One that fits him properly. Now, some of you might be thinking that Frog's pretty thoughtful and he knows the problem Toad's having with the hat. And Frog might actually then try and teach Toad some sort of lesson. Now, are you right? Yes, you are, because in stories like this, characters often learn lessons. Well, there's 3 or 4 different ways that this could go. So, let's read on and see if your prediction is correct. Then Toad fell asleep. Frog came into Toad's house. He came in quietly. Frog found the hat and took it to his house. Oh, let's do that same thing. What do you think's going to happen now? What do you think Frog's going to do with that hat? Now, I know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Frog's going to take the hat. Maybe he's going to switch the hat because he's really nice and he's a really nice friend. And he's almost tricking Toad into this new hat, into thinking big thoughts, because he knows big thoughts. It's good to think big thoughts. Let's see. Frog poured some water on the hat. He put the hat in a warm place to dry. It began to shrink. The hat grew smaller and smaller. You know what I've realized? I've realized in my thinking, as we're reading, that this, I'm going to go back, this is the problem. And Frog is finding a resolution, a way to solve the problem. Okay? This is the way to solve it. Frog went back to Toad's house. Toad was still fast asleep. Frog put the hat back on the hook where he found it. When Toad woke up in the morning, he put the hat on his head. It was just the right size. Now, that clever frog has found a wonderful solution here. A wonderful solution. Now, I didn't guess that. Maybe none of you guessed it. But wow, Frog, what a smart frog he is. Really found a way to solve that problem, to resolve it. And what a good friend. Now, today, when you go back to your series books, remember, don't just collect stuff that you know about your series or about the star of your series. Instead, you'll want to do as we've been doing this morning. You'll want to use what you know about characters to be able to ask big questions like why questions. And to understand the character the way you understand your best friend. And you want to use what you know to predict, to guess what's going to happen next in the story. Okay, really important. What's going to happen next in the story? And as you read on, you'll be able to go, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Or, oh my goodness, I didn't know that was going to happen. And that's an even bigger surprise. So, reminder, use what you know to guess what the character will do next. Okay, go have some fun reading. And don't forget to fill out your reading log.